I remember the night I shattered the heart of the man who loved me more than life itself. It was not just the moment he discovered my betrayal, it was the look in his eyes, the kind of pain no words can heal. He stood there, his hands trembling, holding the truth that I had tried to bury. In that single moment, I lost him. I lost myself. And I almost lost God. Before I take you deeper into this journey, let me pause for just a second to thank every single subscriber of this channel. You have no idea how much your support fuels me to keep telling stories that touch hearts and heal wounds. And to my new and returning viewers who are not yet subscribed, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel and energy that powers this channel forward. Please, do not forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below because your voice matters here. Now, let me tell you my story. My name is Rebecca, and I grew up in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Ohio. To everyone on the outside, my life looked nearly perfect. I had a kind, hard-working husband named Daniel who adored me, 2 beautiful children, and a home that looked like it came straight out of a magazine. But what no one knew was that beneath the polished smiles and the Sunday church services, I was restless. Daniel loved me deeply, but life with him had become predictable. He worked long hours, and when he came home, he was exhausted. I, on the other hand, longed for excitement, for passion, for the kind of romance you see in movies. I did not realize then that my craving was not for love, it was for lust dressed in disguise. It started harmlessly, or at least that is what I told myself. A new trainer at the gym, Chris, was charming, funny, and paid attention to me in a way that Daniel no longer did. I brushed it off at first, but when he complimented me, when he looked at me like I was the most beautiful woman in the room, something inside me lit up. That spark grew into a flame, and before I knew it, I had crossed a line I never thought I would. The first time I betrayed Daniel, I told myself it was just a mistake, something I would bury deep and never repeat. But sin has a way of digging its claws into your soul. One time turned into many, and each time I walked back into my home, kissed my children goodnight, and lay beside my husband, I felt a little more like a fraud. The guilt was unbearable, but the thrill kept pulling me back. Lust is a liar, it convinces you that you are alive while it slowly kills you inside. I was living 2 lives, one where I was the perfect wife and mother, and another where I was a reckless woman chasing shadows. The breaking point came one evening when Daniel came home earlier than expected. I was careless. My phone lit up with a message from Chris, words no husband should ever see. Daniel picked up the phone, and in an instant, everything I had built came crashing down. "Rebecca," he said, his voice breaking, "what is this?" I will never forget the way his eyes filled with tears, how his shoulders slumped as if the weight of the world had been thrown onto him. He did not yell. He did not curse. He simply stood there, shattered. That silence was worse than any rage. That night, Daniel slept in the guest room. I lay awake in our bed, staring at the ceiling, drowning in shame. For the first time, I prayed with raw honesty. God, what have I done? How did I get here? Please, please do not let this be the end. But the truth was, I had already lost him. Daniel withdrew from me in the weeks that followed. He still provided for our family, still showed up for the kids, but with me, there was only distance. Every time I tried to speak, he would shake his head, unable to look at me. The house was full of noise, but our marriage was quiet, cold, and heavy. I threw myself into prayer, but for a long time, heaven felt silent. I kept asking God, why did you let me fall? But slowly, I realized I had been asking the wrong question. God had not abandoned me, I had abandoned him long before I abandoned Daniel. The affair ended the night Daniel found out. Chris disappeared from my life as quickly as he had entered it. And when the thrill was gone, I was left with nothing but the wreckage of my choices. That is when the loneliness hit me like a storm. Days turned into weeks, and I sank into a depression so deep I barely recognized myself. Friends from church tried to reach out, but I avoided them out of shame. I stopped singing in the choir, stopped attending Bible study. I felt like a hypocrite. But in my darkest moment, I opened my Bible again. And the verse that caught me was Hosea 14 verse 4. I will heal their waywardness and love them freely, for my anger has turned away from them. Those words broke me. God was not waiting to condemn me, He was waiting to heal me. I began journaling every day, confessing not only to God but to myself. I had been chasing lust because I had neglected love, both the love of my husband and the love of my Creator. One evening, I gathered the courage to sit with Daniel. I told him everything, not just about Chris, but about my emptiness, my loneliness, and my sin. I cried until I could not breathe, begging for his forgiveness even though I knew I did not deserve it. Daniel listened in silence. When I finished, he said words I never thought I would hear. Rebecca, I do not know if I can forget. But I believe God is telling me to try to forgive. That was the first glimpse of grace. Rebuilding our marriage was not easy. Trust once broken is like shattered glass. It takes time, patience, and humility to piece it back together. Daniel agreed to counseling, and together we sat across from a Christian therapist who helped us dig through the rubble of our brokenness. I had to face the ugly truth about myself. I was not a victim of neglect, I was a woman who chose selfishness over faithfulness. But instead of letting shame define me, I chose to let grace refine me. Slowly, Daniel and I began praying together again. At first, the prayers were short, almost awkward. But over time, they grew into something powerful. Prayer became the glue that started holding us together again. Months later, I remember sitting on the porch with Daniel, watching our kids play in the yard. He looked at me and said, "Rebecca, I am not forgetting what happened. But I am choosing every day to see you through God's eyes, not my pain." That moment taught me what real love means. Love is not about perfect feelings, it is about grace, endurance, and faith. Today, Daniel and I are stronger than we have ever been. Not because we are perfect, but because God rebuilt what I destroyed. And if you are listening to this story feeling like your marriage, your faith, or your life is too broken to fix, let me tell you this. Nothing is too far gone for God. I lost everything, my husband's trust, my self-respect, my peace. But in losing everything, I found myself again. And more importantly, I found God again. So if you are standing in the ashes of your mistakes, remember this, ashes are not the end, they are the beginning of something new when you put it in God's hands. Final encouragement. Trust God with your broken pieces. He does not just repair, He restores.